John Fredericks, America's Godzilla of truth, popular and proficient in picking politics with prophetic precision. And now Jay Fred's picking football. Are y'all ready for this? All across the airwaves and streams of the John Fredericks Media Network. When the game is on your mind and money's on the line, Godzilla Wins, your guide to picking football winners. With America's Godzilla of truth, John Fredericks, along with his partners in point picking, Jack and Nate. Also weekly contributors to the website of winners, GodzillaWins.com. Before you make that play, hear what J. Fred has to say. Godzilla Wins on the John Fredericks Media Network.
Oh yeah, for entertainment purposes only.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's November 5th edition of GodzillaWins.com, our college football preview show from 8:30 Eastern Time until 9 o'clock, where we bring you expert analysis of not only some of the biggest games of the day, but some of the most offbeat ones too, games that we see a lot of value in. I'm your host for this 30 minutes, Jack Fredericks, live in Tunica, Mississippi at the First Jackpot Casino. And joining me today, as always, is Nate Perry, senior contributor to Godzilla Wins, with some amazing content up right now. Nate is live, as always, in Reno, Nevada at the Calneva Casino. Michael Coleman is in our Richmond headquarters in the captain's chair today. Nate, how you doing?
Oh, I'm doing great. Fired up for the show.
Glad to hear it. So my father, John Fredericks, will be joining us at 9 o'clock. He called me yesterday to speak about the Astros, which, if you listen to his show, you know he's a very huge Astros fan. He spent about 45 minutes talking to me without me getting a word in. I actually put the phone down multiple times. I got a flu shot in the middle of it. I was barely listening to him. And at some point, he mentioned that he didn't want to do the 8:30 to 9 slot right now with the bus tour and everything else going on. He's just got a lot of things going. And to be quite frank with you, and Nate knows this, we speak to him all the time. He knows nothing about college football, so it's better if he just joins us at 9 o'clock for the NFL. So we're happy to be with you here. We've got a long string of games that we really like this week. We've got Nate's Pick 6 up at GodzillaWins.com. These are 6 games that we see a lot of high value in, and this season so far, I'm picking at about 44%. Nate is at the same, about 44% here. So we're looking to get back on track. I took the week off last week from the column because I was just getting obliterated, and then Nate got obliterated last week, I think. So here we are. Let's start, Nate, with Penn State and Indiana. We're going to kind of go backwards and lead up to the bigger games here. This is a kickoff at this Saturday at 3:30 Eastern Time. Penn State is a 13.5-point favorite over Indiana. The over-under is 51. Nate, what do you like here?
Yeah, so we're sort of going backwards, right? We're kind of burying the lead, and we'll cover probably Tennessee and Georgia, probably closer to top of the hour. But we'll start with Penn State taking on Indiana. We're never going to miss an opportunity for a weird Big Ten game, and we're certainly not missing it here. I like the over here. I think this total is just a little bit too low. 51 just feels a little bit too low, just because and this is well documented at this point, right? I just despise the Indiana passing defense, right? I just think that they cannot stop a nosebleed. And Sean Clifford hasn't been awesome for Penn State, right? I think we expected a little bit more consistency out of the quarterback for Penn State, but this looks like an opportunity for him to get right. He actually had, he threw a few interceptions last week, but he actually had one of his better passing games last week against Ohio State. And I think that this is just a good spot for him to really get right here. So I like the over here. It feels like a game where Indiana's going to be down early. They're going to have to sort of push the tempo to try and stay competitive. So give me the over here, over 51 points. What do you like, Jack?
Yeah, when I saw Nate had picked this game, I knew he was going to pick the over. He does that with Indiana all the time because he thinks their passing defense is so bad. I don't know what your record is, Nate, on winning those overs, but I do know that you pick them all the time. No trust in the Indiana Hoosiers to stop anybody. I am not a Penn State guy. I've been fading them all year. I think the only time I didn't fade them, they covered. So that was annoying. But I just don't like them. I don't like Sean Clifford. I don't think they're that good. I think that they are ranked 15th for reasons unknown, brand recognition, James Franklin, just because they play in big games, and they do have some impressive wins. They beat the bag out of Auburn earlier this year. But I've been on Indiana for a long time. I think since week 1, I picked them over Nebraska. I understand their defense is horrible, but they move the ball. I think they move the ball at a relatively fast clip. Nate, correct me if I'm wrong. And they can get in the end zone. They have put up some. Yeah, they move quickly, and they can get in the end zone. So I just think 13.5 points is a lot for a game where I just don't really think Penn State is the dominant team that's going to blow anyone out. They make a lot of mistakes. I think this is a game where you'll be checking in at halftime, and it's going to be like 14-7, 10-6, or 2017, and then Penn State will kind of pull away. But 13.5 is a lot of points. Even in college, it's a lot to lay, especially this late in the season. So I'm just, I'm not feeling like that. I've been on Indiana for a long time. I love the Hoosiers, and I'm not going to get off them now. So I'm taking Indiana plus 13.5. Nate's taking the over at 51. That's Penn State at Indiana. Plus, it's in Indiana, so that place is going to be rocking with a big rivalry. Let's move to Texas Tech and TCU. This is a Big 12 game, so this is one that I think Nate is another one that Nate kind of comes out of left field with. I haven't thought about the Texas Tech Raiders in probably 7 years, so now we're thinking about them. They travel to TCU. TCU is a 8-point favorite. Over under is 69, which is super high. Nate, what do you see here?
Yeah, so we got little Big 12 matchup here. TCU has been exceeding expectations, right? They've been playing wonderful football, and they're really the reason why we're doing this, right? We didn't do this game to talk about the Red Raiders so much. We picked this game because TCU could be, trying to slide into a college football playoff spot here if they keep winning. So, I mean, this is another game, right? This is like the only other total that I picked this week. Sometimes things get a little crazy and I just pick only totals because I hate the way that I'm viewing the field in college football, but this is really the only second one, so don't think that I'm just going totals all the way here. But I like the over here. I like over 69 points, mostly just as a testament to TCU's offense has been ridiculous. They score quickly. They're a lot of fun to watch. And the problem with TCU, if they have an Achilles heel, is that they're really vulnerable to a big explosive play. We've seen that a few times throughout the season where they sort of give up quick scores pretty quickly and pretty easily on defense. So this just feels like kind of like one of those classic Big 12 track meet games where they're just back and forth all over the field. A lot of points being scored. Texas Tech does not have an awesome defense. TCU's going to get their points. But Texas Tech can be explosive in their own right. So I think, it's not crazy to see a bunch of quick scores happening, some garbage time stuff happening, sort of end of the game stuff, which has been pretty typical of some of these higher level Big 12 matchups so far. So give me the over 69 points, root for touchdowns, have a little bit of fun this morning.
Yeah, I'm also rooting for touchdowns, but I just want TCU to score. I agree. I think Texas Tech can score, and TCU's defense isn't exactly elite, but they have frustrated some good offenses in the Big 12 so far this year. That's TCU. And I just think mentally, I mean, this is a team that is basically feeling snubbed from the college football playoff. They're ranked 7th. That's behind Alabama, who's got a loss. It's basically keeping them out of contention for the college football playoff unless they keep winning. So I just think they come out and just put it on Texas Tech just based on the fact that they need to continue making statement wins in order to get up in that top 4 conversation. Still a long way to go. A lot of these teams are going to play each other. Tennessee and Georgia are going to have one loss. Ohio State and Michigan at some point will play each other in November. That just leaves sort of Clemson. So TCU has the opportunity to stay unbeaten, but I just think trying to get their resume, I don't think they're going to let up on Texas Tech. 8 points is not a lot to lay for the number 7 team in the country, and that's a very good team. A team that I think I faded earlier in the year against Kansas. I may have covered that. Kansas may have covered that, but TCU's the real deal. So that's interesting to watch. Nate, what do you think about TCU's chances of making the college football playoff? I mean, between TCU and Clemson, let's say they both win out. Are they both in? Or
that's the thing. I don't think they're both in. But I think that TCU probably has in my mind, a better case than Clemson, right? Like Clemson has more brand. They probably make it just because of their brand, because of Dabo, because everybody loves Clemson because they've been there before. But TCU's played a tougher schedule than Clemson has. I mean, the ACC is not good, right? Like, and Clemson has struggled in a pretty mediocre ACC to just like put teams away, right? And we're going to get that in the next game, in the pick six. But I think TCU's probably got a stronger resume. I still feel like though they're probably like going to be on the outside looking in if Clemson and TCU both went out.
Yeah, I think you might be right. I mean, pending some sort of implosion here by one of these SEC teams, Ohio State and Michigan is just going to end up, one of them is going to be undefeated, one of them is going to have one loss. I don't know. I mean, you're right about Clemson. They might be pretenders, which leads us to our third game here. Number 4 ranked Clemson Tigers travel to South Bend, beautiful South Bend. Been there a bunch of times. I can't remember why. Playing Notre Dame, a team that people liked early in the season before they lost to like everyone. Notre Dame is a 4-point dog in this. Over-under is really low at 44. Kickoff here 7:30 Eastern time on NBC. Nate, who do you like in this Clemson-Notre Dame matchup here? This is one of our big games for Pick 6.
I'm actually in rare agreement. Shout out to Paul, who does also college little write-up on GodzillaWins.com. Me and Paul are actually on the same side, which rarely happens here. We both like the Irish. I like them, +4, +3.5, +4.5. It kind of depends on where you're betting this and what your shop is, what line you can get. But I like Notre Dame here. Clemson feels like a fraud number 4 team in the country. This just doesn't feel like the dominant sort of Clemson team that we've seen, right? They've struggled to put people away. The defense, for all the talent that it has looked vulnerable at times. And the offense just hasn't really found a rhythm. So this feels like a low-scoring game to me. I know that Jag gave me a hard time in the pick 6 about me playing weatherman, but this just looks like crappy weather in South Bend, right? It looks like it's going to be pretty windy. It looks like it's going to be pretty cold. Might be kind of wet. And this just feels like a game where they just sort of move the ball. It could be a rock fight, like barely anything happening. That really sort of primetime NBC game that they love. To put Notre Dame on where it's like 7-3 going into the fourth quarter, right? So I like Notre Dame here in just sort of a coin flippy type game that feels like there's probably not going to be a ton of scoring. Both these teams would prefer to run it and control the clock. So give me Notre Dame here. Paul likes Notre Dame. Jack, why do you like Clemson?
Yeah, so you can go to Godzilla Wins and you'll see Paul's picks as well. Nate and Paul are rarely in agreement. That's true. Every time Paul publishes his picks, Nate texts me and tells me how wrong they all are. Both Nate and Paul win about at the same rate, so it just goes to show you that this is hard. Nate, the problem with you is you're so bad when you start to play weatherman. It's just like I can't think of a situation where you've been right about the weather. Every time you say it's crappy weather, it's like beautiful. So and then it's like, oh wow, they scored 100 points, and I took the under because Nate said it was going to snow. So I'm done with your weatherman nonsense. I'm not doing that anymore. I agree that Clemson is overvalued. and writing on brand. Their offense ranks 50th. That's ridiculous. Clemson has always been offensively an elite team. They're not even close this year, and they're not going to get close in the next couple games. But their defense is still a top 25 defense, and I don't think they've looked as vulnerable as Nate as you seem to think they do. At times, I think they've looked pretty good. The ACC just has really good quarterbacks. So if you're talking about the NC State game or something, I mean, NC State can move the ball too. Notre Dame stinks. They have this 70th ranked offense that's behind Buffalo. So Buffalo averages more yards per game than Notre Dame, and Notre Dame doesn't play the hardest schedule in the world. The Irish, they can't move the ball, and this is to me is an easy pick. Clemson -4. I don't see a situation. I can't see a situation where Notre Dame covers. I think this is everyone trying to get a little too cute, trying to fade Clemson because they don't think they're good. This is not the week they get upset. This is not a game where they win by 1. They're just going to win by a couple touchdowns, and you're all going to be like, oh, maybe Clemson is good, because that's the thing about Clemson. They're always going to be in the conversation because they're very well coached and they're very disciplined. I think that they're just going to get out the tires and roll all over the Irish. Hey, speaking of tires, today's Godzilla Wins Football Saturday College preview and Nate's Pick 6 are both brought to you by TireGet.com. You probably didn't know, but my dad is in the tire business. Can't hang a picture, and even Nate knows he's never owned a toolbox in his life. But the man loves tires. He's not in the radio business, folks. He's in the tire business. Always been in the tire business. He talks about tires constantly. He's always looking at tires, trying to pick them out, put them on his car. That Buick. He drives a Buick. He's got the bus. He's got the bigger tires for the bus. So listen, you check out TireGet.com when you need your next set of tires. He's got an selection of tires, all made in the USA, of course. And don't forget the promo code Godzilla. That's promo code Godzilla. Get 5% off your next set of tires. We've got affiliates, 2 in your town, who will put them in. Do you need tires? Think TireGet.com. Promo code Godzilla. Nate, Dad is in the tire business. Always has been, always will be. Let's go ahead and look at some SEC matchups. Very exciting for your SEC homer here. We'll start with Florida at Texas A&M. Texas A&M is a 3-point favorite. I think you've got some interesting thoughts on this game. What do you think about Florida traveling to the Aggies?
Yeah, I mean, so just straight away, I like Florida here, right? The line has moved quite a bit. We got Florida plus 3 for the column when we wrote it up. It looks like it's shading down towards 2.5 at most places, which means that it seems like the Gators are probably getting a little bit more money. I'm never going to miss an opportunity to fade Jimbo. That's just bottom line, right? I do not like Texas A&M. I think they are ridiculous. I thought they were ridiculous ever since they joined the SEC. And the Gators look like decent, right? They played Georgia last week. It wasn't, the most awesome game in the world, but they were a little bit more competitive than we thought they'd be. Anthony Richardson threw the ball decently. He passed for almost 300 yards against Georgia, which is, no small feat just on its own, particularly given how much he sort of struggled just completing any passes before that game. So I'm interested in Florida. They've had a little bit of drama this week. They dismissed Brenton Cox, right? So he's not going to be playing this week, and maybe that'll give him a little bit of a boost because he seemed like he was a huge problem in the locker room. Brian sort of wrote that up last week a little bit in his preview of the world's largest outdoor cocktail party when they played Georgia, and I think that's probably true. So I like Florida here. They showed a lot of sort of willingness to compete after they got down early with Georgia and actually made a game of it when it shouldn't have been. And the Aggies just can't, their defense is just not good. A&M's defense is not good. They're particularly bad against the run. They give up a lot of rushing yards, and that's really what Florida has excelled at. They've struggled to pass it, but they do move the ball pretty well on the ground, and they do move the ball pretty explosively on the ground. They break off a lot of big runs. So this just feels like an opportunity for them to sort of keep winning, and even more so it feels like an opportunity for Texas A&M to keep losing, which we all love.
Yeah, we all hate Texas A&M here. Yeah, I mean, look, all of us hate Texas A&M. If you even remotely like SEC football, you just don't like this team. Obviously, my team Ole Miss has been beefing with A&M because Lane is an ally of Nick Saban, and Jimbo called both Lane and Nick Saban out last summer, called him clowns, called them clowns or whatever. Lane's been having fun with that. I faded Texas A&M a couple times. I took them against South Carolina, lost that. I'm tired of Texas A&M. I think Florida is horrible. They're just really bad. I don't understand Nate's analysis that they hung with Georgia. They lost by 22. What he means is they covered, which is not the same thing. I don't care about either of these teams, and I think that the over is the best play. They both can score. Both defenses stink. So 54.5 is not a ton of points for college football over. I think this is probably a high-shooting, high-scoring Big 12 sort of shootout. So I'm just taking the over 54.5, and we'll see. I'm looking for touchdowns here. I think if I had to be forced to pick the game, I'd probably pick Florida just because we all fade Texas A&M on this radio show. We hate them. Two more games here. We're going to get to Georgia and Tennessee in a minute, so don't go away. We've got number 6 Alabama at number 10 LSU. This is a big game that I think snuck up on a lot of people here. And LSU is a 13.5 underdog. 13.5. Number 10 team in the country, folks. At home in Baton Rouge, 13.5 dog. Nate, what do you like here?
This is just I love Alabama, right? Like it's I wrote about this in the column. It's just that thing that Nick Saban does, and it's not even like it's just so standard now that it feels ridiculous, right? So college football playoff, this turn hasn't started in 2015. There's only been 1 year that Alabama has not made the playoff, right? And there's been a few years where Alabama's gotten into the playoff with one loss. And it's just because, for whatever reason, Alabama will lose one time and then they never lose again, and they just run the table after this and they make the playoff. It's just how it goes. There's one exception from basically it was the 2020 season where they didn't make the playoff, but every other time they've just bounced back and they've destroyed everybody and they make it to the playoff. And it's annoying, and I feel like that's going to happen here. LSU has had some struggles on, sort of containing big passing plays. Their PFF grades aren't awesome for defending the pass, for sort of per Pro Football Focus. And Bryce Young is an elite quarterback, right? He hasn't had the sort of eye-popping games that we thought he would have, but he's been excellent still. This looks just like an opportunity where he's going to get his yards, he's going to get going, and I'm just not sure that LSU can stop them. LSU looks like a team that's just sort of still a work in progress. The offensive line looks like it's still coming together. It's progressing, but they're not protecting the quarterback maybe as well as they should, and that spells that's a huge problem against Alabama's sort of front seven, who are very good at getting after the quarterback. Will Anderson is just ridiculous. I think it's going to be a long day for LSU. Alabama just rolls them here. So I like Alabama.
So this is where I think you're being kind of a square, because you keep telling me and our listeners that Alabama's going to win the game, which is fine. They're a 13.5 point favorite. I don't think LSU is going to win the game. I hate LSU. I would never choose LSU to win a game ever, especially after beating Ole Miss like they did. Now I hate them even more. All I got to do is lose by 12, and they cover, and that's what I feel like.
But like, how often are you losing by 12?
I don't know. I mean, LSU can score. Like the Alabama's defense is kind of atrocious. Their pass defense stinks. Maybe they cleaned it up against Mississippi State, but you don't need to ask me about my thoughts on Mississippi State and the culture down there, as Dad likes to say. I think the pass defense stinks. LSU can score a little bit. I mean, they hung like 42 on Ole Miss, and Ole Miss's defense stinks too. So I just think the game is probably a shootout, and it's like that. Maybe they lose by 10. This is a huge game for LSU. You got to remember, if they win this game, they basically win the SEC. I mean, they hold all the cards unless they were to lose to Arkansas. I think that's usually who they play at the end of the year. So I just think that's a huge spot for them. However, Brian Kelly does stink against Nick Saban. He's and he gets blown out every time. So who knows? The over might be a safe play here too. I mean, I don't see either defense stopping. 56.5 seems fine, but I'm taking LSU plus 13.5. I think they kind of hang around. They just get up for the game, and then they lose. But you never know. I'm telling you, I got buddies who watch Alabama every year, and every time I talk to them about Alabama, they tell me this is not the team you're used to. This team is disorganized. They're undisciplined. Bill O'Brien is a horrible offensive coordinator, et cetera. They don't have any confidence in this team. That's not normal for Alabama fans. They always have confidence in their team to run the table, especially after a weird loss. I just think they're not like the normal Crimson Tide that we're used to. But we'll see. And, it's Alabama. Okay, 7:55 here. So we've got 8:55 Eastern time. We've got 5 minutes to talk about the big game here. Number one, Tennessee, the University of Tennessee Volunteers at number 3, Georgia, in Athens, between the hedges. Line is 8.5. I think it moved a little bit in Tennessee's favor. All the big money's on Tennessee. This is one of the biggest SEC games of the year, probably the biggest outside of the conference championship. Nate and I both disagree on what's going to happen. Nate, tell me why you love the burnt orange.
Yeah, I mean, this is sort of like the moment where I just feel like the ultimate square, right? Tennessee's best team in the country. Georgia's number 3 ranked team in the country. And Tennessee somehow, despite being the best team in the country, according to the AP, which is horrible for being predictive for games, is an 8-point underdog, 8.5-point underdog, maybe some places. I just don't buy it. I just don't see it. Georgia just doesn't look that much better than Tennessee. I mean, I like Tennessee. Tennessee's fun to watch. They're probably the most fun team to watch in the country. The offense is ridiculous. They score so quickly. They run it at an insane tempo. And I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to go nuts here with stats, but Hendon Hooker's elite, right? He runs, by basically any metric, he is insanely good. His QBR is nuts. He's already thrown for 2,300 yards. His touchdown to interception ratio is 21-1. I mean, and he had his best game of the season against Alabama, so it's clear that he gets up for the big games. He threw for 385 yards against Alabama, which is not easy to do. It would take most people probably 2 games to be able to do that, and he scored 5 touchdowns. I'm not buying that Tennessee is a totally fraudulent number 1 team in the country. I mean, all they've done is just showed up every week, and as the stage has gotten bigger and bigger, the stakes have gotten higher and higher. They've just continued to show up. So tell me why I'm wrong, Jack.
Because they don't have a good defense. Their defense is horrible. This defense is awful. And I heard someone say on another show this week that, the reason Tennessee's defense stinks is that they score so quickly. Their defense is tired. They're gassed. It's they still have to stop people. That's how you win football games. You're not allowed to just say, we're tired. I mean, this is SEC football. They average almost giving up 400 yards per game. Teams average 5.2 yards per play against them. They're 80th in the country on defense, and they're playing a UGA team that moves the ball just as well as them and scores at will. And then you look at UGA's defense, and you can't tell me they haven't played anybody because they played pretty much everybody Tennessee's played except for Alabama, and they rank 4th in the country. This is a defense you should respect. They give up 262 yards per game on average. That's 140 yards differential there. Listen to this. The UGA defense has given up 7 touchdowns all year. 7. Some of the best defenses, like Michigan, giving up 21. Georgia's given up 7 touchdowns. This team is a bend, don't break type of team. They just will ruin you on defense. This is going to be a long day for Hendon Hooker. He's never seen anything like this. Kirby Smart is not losing this game, and I think it's going to be a blowout. Georgia is the best team in the country. I'm telling you now, they had 2 small hiccups against Missouri and Kent State. They won both those games. They blow everybody out. I unloaded so much on UGA. My UGA leverage is ridiculous. I mean, if UGA doesn't win, I have to retire. I mean, I'm done. You won't see me on the show next week because I need them to cover in order to continue having this much fun. So I'm always going to go with the defense here, and I think that UGA just has a better defense. I mean, we'll see. We'll see. I was wrong about Bama. I took Bama and had to lay all those points, but I am, I think, right about Georgia here. Okay, that is our college football preview show here. Those are our 6 games. You can go to GodzillaWins.com and find Nate Pick 6 if you want our full write-up. We've also got some other games and some other stuff as well. It is 9 o'clock. We're going to take a quick commercial break here, and we'll come back with the Godzilla. John Fredericks will join us for the NFL version. We've got the Bills. We're talking Vikings. We're talking Packers. We're doing the Jaguars, the Falcons. We got it all for you here after just a quick word from our sponsors.
You're listening to Godzilla Wins on the John Fredericks Media Network. For a deeper dive without the jive, visit the website of winners, GodzillaWins.com. Let's get back to the show with the guys in the know, John, Jack, and Nate. It's Godzilla Wins on the John Fredericks Media Network.
Welcome, everybody, to another live edition of Godzilla Wins. I'm your host, John Fredericks. We've got our 2 NFL analysts ready to go and fired up. Jack Fredericks, he's live. He's in Tunica, Mississippi, at the Jackpot Casino there, trying to get some of his money back. I just heard him saying, hey, he needs a big win by Georgia -8 to stay in the hunt. We've also got Nate Perry live in Reno at the at the vaunted what was it? The Cal Rev Casino out there. We got a lot of picks coming up for you. Let me tell you where I am today. You can follow us on Getter Live and get in the chat too. This is day 20 of our Marathon MAGA Bus Tour, our Team MAGA Bus Tour. We're just outside Pittsburgh here at the grounds at Latrobe Airport, Arnold Palmer Airport, actually, in Latrobe, Pennsylvania, in Westmoreland County, we've got we got a lot of great things happening here, but we are live outside with the bus. If you go to Getter Live now and get on our chat, you can see us there. But we're not here to talk about politics. I've been talking about that all week. I'm done with that for an hour. We are going to talk about my favorite thing, which is the Astros. Oh no, this is a football show. That's right. I forgot about that. Let's bring in Nate Jack. Let's start though by telling you, and Jack knows this, that our sponsor for the show is my new tire company. I love tires. TireGet.com. Go to TireGet.com. I love tires. I love being in the tire business. The most fun I've ever had in anything I do is being in the tire business. Now, I know a lot about tires. I know they're round, and I know you need them, and I know they should be made in America. And all you got to do is go to TireGet.com, because I'm in the tire business. Go to TireGet.com, and you can get the tires that you want there. We got a bunch of affiliates we're adding. And they're all made in America, which is really cool. You don't want to buy those Chinese tires. They fall apart on the road. Plus, you don't want to back to CCP. So go to TireGet.com, put a promo code Godzilla. Get 5% off. Save money. Help us. Help our movement. And I love tires. Patrick, right? Do I love tires? In my spare time, I'm studying tires. I'm reading all about tires, how they're made and whatever, the different kinds of tires. Truck tires and car tires and pickup tires and RV tires. I'm like a tire expert. I'm going to write a book on tires. John, people say, John, you should write a book. I'm going to do Tires by John. All right, joining us now, go to TireGet.com. Joining us now. Jack knows I know. Now, Jack, I've never actually changed a tire, and I don't own a toolbox, but that's why we have the affiliates. Jack, have you ever seen me change it?
I haven't seen you do anything useful, ever.
I don't own a toolbox. I taught my boys nothing. I can't hang a picture. I don't own it. I literally have never had a toolbox in my life. But I love tires. All right, let's get right to football. We got Jack. We got Nate. We got Michael Coleman there running the op in rich Vegas. Soon to have a casino there, Michael, hopefully in Petersburg. Morrissey working on that. Also, I've got my coffee here, my Godzilla of Truth cup. I have to take a sip of this. Hang on. Boy, there's nothing like fresh Dunkin' Donuts coffee in the morning, right? Nothing like that. Okay, guys. Listen, Jack, start us off. What's our records here? How we doing?
I thought you were going to ask that, and I have no idea. I haven't done it yet. I thought he's gonna ask me what our records are. I didn't update him for this week. I'm sure we're doing fine.
I'm 6 games under. I was 7-6 last week, so I shaved 1 game off my 6-game deficit. I'm 5 games under, but I'm about. Look, everybody knows at the end of the season I'm going to be 30 games up. I'm going to get on fire. I'm going to school you guys, but I have you here because I love you both. There's nothing beats a father's love. We'll even back the losers. Okay, let's get let's get to the first game on the card. By the way, guys, we're having our where are we having our corporate executive meeting for Godzilla Wins, Nate? Where's that?
Ooh, corporate meeting in Nashville.
In Vegas, I know.
Thursday night football game, yeah.
I know. We've got our 3 corporate executives, me, Jack, and Nate. We have to. Ann said, according to the laws, we have to have a meeting, right? Have to document, and we have to have a secretary with the meeting. So we made Joe the secretary, so he's got to go in the meeting, and it'll be at the DoubleTree Hotel right outside of Nissan Stadium. That's going to be our corporate board meeting.
Maybe while we're there, we'll all change a tire.
You can teach me how to change a tire, right?
There we go.
In Nashville, and so it's all good. That's during Christmas break week. All right, let's get right to it. We got a lot going on here, and Indianapolis Colts, who should be like 0-9 or something, they're 5.5-point underdog going to the Patriots. Patriots rolling, guys. Bill Belichick. This happens every season. Season goes on, his team gets better. Season goes on, his defense gets better. Season goes on, he starts winning more games. I mean, the Colts are in disarray. The Matt Ryan thing was a total bust. They're basically now in fire sale mode. They're not going to make the playoffs. Patriots at home. I don't like laying 5.5. I hate that number, but I don't see the Colts winning this game, guys. I like the Pats minus the 5.5. Nate Perry.
Yeah, I mean, gosh, I don't know. I don't know why I keep betting on the Patriots. They're not good, but the Colts are just so bad. I mean, I think that the Patriots are probably the play here, and it's for all the reasons that we know, right? I mean, Bill Belichick's record against rookie quarterbacks is ridiculous, particularly rookie quarterbacks that are, making their first, start. Or one of their first starts. So, I mean, I think the Patriots have to be the play here just because I don't know how you have any faith in the Colts at all, particularly, just getting 5.5, which is kind of a weird number. So, I mean, the idea that Sam Ehlinger is going to be making his first road start of his career. He has a new offensive coordinator because the Colts just fired their offensive coordinator because they suck. I don't see how the Colts can inspire any sort of confidence. I don't love the Patriots, but I find myself sort of betting them every week anyways. I like the Pats here.
All right, you and I like the Pats. Jack, take a stab at this game.
I have no real feel for the game. I like the under at 40 for the same reasons that y'all are talking about. We know that Bill Belichick's defense gets better every week. They've looked really good the last couple weeks. The offense is horrible. I don't know why Matt Patricia is the offensive coordinator. Everybody seems to be wondering the same question. He's a defensive mind calling plays. I don't understand that. They have some quarterback trouble of their own. They can't really move the ball. Indy can stop people. I mean, they're kind of like the Commanders. Like, you look up at the fourth quarter and the game's like 16-15, and you're like, oh, wow, I'm just glad I didn't watch this one. So I kind of think the under at 40 is a safe play. I don't think either team's really going to score that much. But I'm with y'all. Like, I probably would lay the 5.5 if I felt like I liked that number. If it got off 5.5 and got to 4, I'd probably lay it. But I don't. It's too much for a Patriots team that isn't very good either. So I'm playing the under.
All right, you got under. Me and Nate got Pax. Bills, Jets. I love this game, folks. No respect for the Jets. They had another tough game last week. I mean, this team is actually vying for a playoff spot. 11.5-point underdog at home against Buffalo. this game has got, to me, trap all over it, right? I mean, the Jets are playing a good football, no matter. Again, it's another one of the teams on paper, you don't see it, but Zach Wilson, a lot of people don't like him. He's scoring touchdowns. I love the Jets at home here at 11.5. That's a lot of points. This is one of these games, you see it every year. Buffalo, goes into New York, or they go into Houston, or they go into Jacksonville or something. They get disinterested. And I understand they've got home field advantage on the line. I think they go in here, get ambushed by the Jets. I think the Jets actually going to play a hell of a game here. I love the 11.5. Remember my rule. If I think the underdog can win, I bet them and take the 11.5. I love the Jets here. I wouldn't fall off my tour bus here, my Trump tour bus, if the Jets win this game. So I love the Jets plus 11.5. Jack?
Man, you're making me feel like maybe I should take the money line plus 470. Maybe a little Jets upset. Look, I kind of agree with you here. I've been fading the Jets all year, and it's really hard to take the underdog when they're playing Buffalo, because Buffalo looks like the best team in the NFL by like a mile. Maybe the Eagles are second, but the Bills are playing just incredible. And this feels like maybe a game where Buffalo just puts up 30 and the Jets can't score and they fall back down to earth. But I'm going to take the 11.5 as well. It's too many points to lay. I don't like the point total. I don't think the Jets can win this game. I'm not as confident as you. But 11.5, yeah. I mean, I'll take it. Give me the Jets.
Every season, the Bills have a couple of complete letdown games, right? We've seen it now. This is going to be the third year in a row. They just have a letdown game. They get disinterested, and somebody beats them on the road. That sucks. And I think I think this could be it, Nate.
Well, and let's just real quick, let's remind the listeners that Dad's father, my grandfather, was a Jets fan, so he's got a real soft spot for the Jets. If you listen to the show a lot, he picks the Jets all the time. It's really kind of his second team. He doesn't tell anybody that, but if he had the chance to root for the Jets, he's going to do it.
My father, your grandfather, loved those Jets. I mean, he loved the green. He loved Joe Namath. He loved Emerson Boozer. He loved the Jets. So you're right about that. He bet the Jets, I think, every single week until he died. He bet him every week for years.
Yeah,
he bet the Jets every week, kind of like I do with the Titans. Go ahead.
Yeah. So we're actually unanimous here. I like the Jets as well. I like it just because this feels like the Jets aren't the most awesome matchup for the Bills, because the Jets have a pretty good passing defense, right? So Josh Allen probably won't get just totally loose on this defense. Sauce Gardner has been incredible for the Jets. DJ Reed also so they have a real pass defense. I worry that the Jets can't score at all against the Bills a little bit. So I think if you're looking at the total, it's probably somewhere around 48. I think that the under is worth a pretty hard look, but because I think it's going to be a low-scoring game, I also don't think that you can just lay double digits with the Bills here. The Bills have been winning, but they don't necessarily cover every week, right? They didn't cover against the Packers, for instance. And John's right; they do sometimes just have weird flat spots. They did lose to the Dolphins earlier in the season. In kind of a weird game. So I'll roll the dice with the Jets here. I think this is a little bit of an overreaction because Zach Wilson was horrible last week. I don't think that's probably indicative of sort of what he is just generally. So give me the Jets as well. We're all
right. We all like the Jets. I'm going to lead this one off. Dolphins at Bears. This is not one of those games you look at it and you shake your head. See, this is where the rubber, speaking of TireGet.com, go to TireGet.com. This is where the rubber meets the road, right? Dolphins, Bears in Chicago. Bears a 4-point underdog, right? Well, why wouldn't you take the Dolphins, right? They've not lost a game with Tua. They had a big win last week. They're back. Everything is back. They got that little skinny football coach, McDaniel, that never played football, running around with his computer, making speeches, right? I mean, everything says Dolphins here. Nate.
It does. It everything says Dolphins here, which is why I like the Bears just to pull the upset. I mean, everything's going right for the Dolphins when Tua's there, right? That they're undefeated when Tua's playing the majority of the snaps. Everything looks like it favors the Dolphins. The Bears have not looked awesome, but they are sort of sneaky competitive in some of these games. And this just feels like at some point the Dolphins are going to sort of stub their toe somewhere. And I think that it's probably this week. Chicago is really vulnerable against the run, but their pass defense is like middle, kind of average, which is really what sort of Miami excels at. So I like the Bears here. I think the Bears might just win this thing outright. I mean, I wouldn't fault anyone for taking a little sneaky money line play on this game. So I like the Bears. I like the Bears quite a bit, actually.
Jack.
Oh yeah, so I'm with Nate, man. I'd take the money line if I had more than $10 to my name right now. I put $10 on it, win 16. That might be a nice little play for me. I like the Bears here. The Bears are good. Well, they're not good, but their defense is okay, and they run the ball really well. They're like one of the most effective rushing attacks in the country, and they do weird, interesting things with their run game. And I just think they probably slow down the Dolphins enough where we get a little backdoor cover here. Maybe they win outright. Go with Chicago. I see a lot of situations where the Bears cover this game. Really like the value there.
I really can't believe that we're going to go like 2 games in a row with unanimous consent with a dog. I'm with you guys. I love the Bears in this game. Everybody's betting the Dolphins. It opened at 3, went to 4 like within 7 minutes. So everybody bet that 3 points up. The Dolphins are the now the chic pick for everybody with Tua back. But if you follow the Bears, I mean, they hang around these games. I bet against them a lot and lose. If they hang around these games, Justin Fields can't complete a pass over 7 yards downfield. They won't let him throw the football, but they run the ball. Their defense is not like that putrid, right? So look, I like him at home, and I said I'm going to bet against the Dolphins until they cover 2 games in a row. And I think they covered last week. I think I lost by a half, Jack. If I'm not, I kind of don't remember. I've been in so many cities here, but I think it was very, very close. So I just don't like the Dolphins as an organization. I think their coach is full of crap. I like coaches who play the game. I don't like these guys that come up through Harvard or something coaching football. So I'm going to go here with the Bears +4. We're unanimous with that. Oh, here's a tough game. And both of you guys, I'm interested to get your take here. I'm going to start with Jack. Vikings at the Washington whatevers. Vikings in first place. They look great. I mean, I looked at this game. I thought it would be 7. It's 3. Why, Nate? Why is or Jack? Let's start with you. Why are the Vikings only 3 over Washington? That really they play in that FedEx Field in Maryland. It isn't even a home advantage, right? Half the people there root for the other team. Why only 3?
The Vikings are sort of underwhelming, even though they're like 6-1. I think that's what they are. And Washington covered last week. I think they won that game. People have a lot more faith in Taylor Heineke than I think they should. This is a really it's really hard for me not to pick the Commanders here because I do think that defense is pretty good. And again, they hang around games. They win a lot of ugly games or they lose by 1 point. But I like the Vikings because Justin Jefferson's a beast. And the Vikings score a lot of points. And they're 6-1 for a reason. They win a lot of games, and they do cover quite often, actually. I stayed away from them for about 6 weeks. They're going to win that division easily. So I'm going to take the 3 with the Vikings and just roll with that because I think Minnesota probably wins this game by 6 or 7.
Nate, go ahead.
Yeah, so I'll take the Commanders here. I'll bite. So I just think this is a weird matchup. The Vikings, yeah, like their record is awesome, right? But they're not like just like blowing teams out. They're not like covering machines. And for all that everyone talks about, Taylor Heineke, stinks or whatever, blah blah. I think he's probably the best quarterback in Washington. So I'll take the Commanders here. I just think it's kind of a weird matchup for the Vikings. Washington has a pretty good run defense. They have a pretty good defensive line. I don't think it's going to be as easy for Minnesota to score. So give me the Commanders here. Whatever.
I love the Vikings. This is my best bet of the week. Washington stinks. I don't care about Tyler Heineke. The guy got benched multiple times. You know, he played at Old Dominion. Now, Minnesota's a good team. They just win games. And you're right. I mean, they're kind of like the Titans, right? They're not flashy. The games are boring. You know, Cousins manages a game. I've said this. It'll be the third time I said it. You know, they manage that club like an IBM, you know, field office in 1958. Everything is buttoned down. Nothing is flashy, you know, but they go through the motions or they go through the sets and they just win games. They just keep winning games. They're in command of their division. I just don't see them going to Washington here and getting eclipsed by, you know, a team that is not going to make the playoffs. That won a couple of close games. I mean, who they beat last week? The Colts. I mean, I think I've said this before. Colts could be 0-8 as far as I'm concerned. They're absolutely horrible, and now they're, you know, trading players away. Couple texts I got on Getter on the Bears was like, don't forget the Bears traded away their two best defensive players. You know, that I still like them even in spite of that, because I like the fact that they're going to run the football a lot, and Miami's pass run defense is just not that stellar. Having said that, I love the Vikings here, -3 going into Washington. And it's not even home field advantage, guys. I mean, if you've been there like I have a couple games, I mean, I remember going to a Commanders or whatever they were, Redskins San Francisco game a few years back, and, you know, half the fans there came from the Bay. So it's not even a home game. That franchise has really got some issues. I like the Vikings here to manage this game, win by 3. I like the Vikings -3. All right, let's start off with Nate here. Panthers, Bengals. Panthers +7.5. Nate, you made a big bet on the Panthers winning. What was it? You got 5.5 games for the season. You made a big bet on the under. I think that's a risk now.
It's a massive at risk. I mean, God, I just don't understand. Like, they should not be good, or they shouldn't even be like media. Like, they shouldn't even be just bad. They should be awful. But the Panthers, like, after firing Matt Rule and after, you know, sort of shelving the Baker Mayfield experiment and putting PJ Walker in, they actually look like decent, right? You know, they hung with the Falcons last week. You know, they had the big upset the week before against the Bucks. This team just looks like they're just sort of sneaky competitive. So the Bengals are, you know, laying a little bit north of a touchdown. I don't know. I feel like I have to, like, walk back a little bit of my Panthers criticism here, because I actually kind of like the Panthers here. I don't. Yeah.
All right, well, you like the Panthers +7.5. Look, I keep betting against them. I keep losing. I keep betting on the Bengals. I keep losing. So that's why I'm 5 games under. If I were to look at 2 teams that have made me 5 games under this season, it's Charlotte, which I've not won a bet on, and it's the Bengals, which I've not won a bet on. So I bet against Cincinnati. They put up 90 or 50 or something against somebody they played. I bet on them, and they get blown out by Cleveland. So I have no idea. But look, the Bengals can't be as bad as that Cleveland game looked, and I don't think the Panthers are really a viable franchise right now. So Burrow got embarrassed again. I mean, how many times can this guy get embarrassed now on national TV? I'm going to go ahead with the Bengals. I'm going to lay the 7.5 and figure, look, I've not won a bet on either of these 2 teams, so I might as well keep losing, but I like the Bengals minus the 7.5. Jack?
Oh, I love the Panthers in this spot. I watched them play last week. I watched that whole game against Atlanta. They should have won that game had their kicker not missed both an extra point and then a easy chip shot field goal in overtime. I'm not really a Bengals believer. I think the thing with the Panthers is I think the problem was Matt Rule. Y'all called that early. Y'all said Matt Rule stinks. He's going to get fired. He's horrible. And now they've just totally turned the ship around, and they look good. Like, not good, but mediocre, competitive. They're going to be in games. They're not going to lose by 7.5. I can promise you that. They're not going to get their butt kicked by the Bengals. So I'm going to take them. I think even the money line probably is an interesting play there. If you have any faith in their kicker, which I don't, so I'm going to go give me the 7.5. I really like the Panthers in this spot. This is just, you're going to have to watch this team because without Matt Rule, all of a sudden they're playing well, and they look a lot better. PJ Walker's no slouch.
It's interesting. Kentucky MAGA says this is interesting. I know both of you guys think they're different because Matt Rule's not there, who I happen to agree. Nate and I were saying at the beginning of the season the guy was not going to make it to Halloween, and we were both right. He was horrible. But it's interesting. Kentucky MAGA on Get Alive says the difference is now they're not centered around McCaffrey and they distribute the ball. That's kind of an interesting observation from Kentucky MAGA. I kind of believe.
Yeah, it is.
It is interesting. Okay, so Jack and Nate like Carolina plus 7.5. I'm going to go with Joey Burrow at home, lighten it up, winning this game big. I'm going to lay the 7.5. All right, let's get to quick word from our sponsors. Go to GodzillaWins.com, GodzillaWins.com. Jack, before we do that, you got some great content going on GodzillaWins.com. Tell us a little about what you guys are getting up now every single week.
Yeah, you go to GodzillaWins.com and you'll find a whole lot of content there. We've got Austin Kane doing our Premier League soccer. He does some of the most intensive write-ups you'll find on the Premier League if you're into soccer. Nate does his pick six every week, as well as his dispatches from a degenerate, which give you some interesting takes on some stuff. We got the Thursday night game, the Monday night game. We've done some baseball as well. We're looking for some NBA writers. So if you like the NBA and you like to write, you can just go to GodzillaWins.com, and on the right-hand side there'll be an opportunity to email us at that email, and we'll get back to you because I'd love to start doing a little bit more NBA, but right now we're locked into the NFL. And we've also got, of course, all of our NFL content. It's been a lot of fun. We've also got the best UGA writer in the country. Brian Butcher is just incredible. We're going to have him on at some point when UGA plays another big game. Tried to get him on this morning, but he was unavailable. So just go to GodzillaWins.com. You'll see all sorts of content. Again, that's GodzillaWins.com.
I love Godzilla. You guys, Jack's the editor of the site, and Nate, a senior contributor. I got to tell you, the job you guys have done with this site, I think it's one of the best handicapping sites in America, and you've gotten it up very quickly, and it's the quality of the writers. I mean, it's just great stuff up there. And just go to GodzillaWins.com. You can sign up for email alerts, so when we put something, it'll go right to your inbox. And look, GodzillaWins.com. What Jack is, what my son Jack and Nate have put together here is a concept where we're trying to be cutting edge, give you great analysis, but a lot of the other handicapping sites out there have pathetic writers. I mean, it's just tough reads. We got great writers. That's Jack's vision, to have great writers writing passionately about the teams that they believe in. So, look, I'm going to start being a contributor for the Rockets of the NBA. Here's my first column. 2 words: Rockets suck. Done. Over and out. Yeah. Word from our sponsors. I'm a man of few words. Not. When I get back, Jack, Nate, we're back. We got big games coming up. We got Chargers, we got Dirty Birds, we got Packers, we got Lions, Raiders, Jacksonville, all coming up right here on Godzilla Wins. We'll be right back after this 3-minute word from our vaulted and loved sponsors. Live, Day 20, T-Mega Bus Tour, Latrobe, Pennsylvania. Godzilla Wins. We'll be right back.
Not sure about the over-under or how many points to lay? Let Godzilla lead the way. You're listening to the radio show for winners, Godzilla Wins, exclusive on the John Fredericks Media Network.
For entertainment purposes only.
All right, you're back on Godzilla Wins. Go to GodzillaWins.com, GodzillaWins.com. This is NFL Sunday. We got games, we got picks, we got everything. We got Jack, my son Jack, who's the editor of our site, GodzillaWins.com, on fire. He's live in Tunica, Mississippi at the Jackpot Casino. Nate Perry, he's my surrogate son, Jack's best friend. Nate, part of our management team here at GodzillaWins.com. And Nate is live at the Cal Rev Casino in Reno, which, by the way, Nate's going red, but we're not going to inject politics in there. It's all good. Your life gets better, Nate, starting November 9th. Now, let's get to what really matters here. We got to get through these fast because if you think I'm going to go through the show and not talk about the Astros at the end, no way, Jose. So let's get to let's get to another 1:00 game. Here's another one of these games, guys. The Bolts. Here's a team you can't figure out. You can't figure the Chargers out 1 week to the next in Atlanta. Atlanta winning that game again last week, didn't cover, won the game. They keep winning these games. They keep hanging around, and they win on like crazy things. Like missed field goals, missed PATs. Falcons a 3-point underdog at home. Jack, you've been all over the Falcons from day one. The Atlanta Clown Show. Not so much clownish now. They're +3 at home. Jack, take it.
Yeah, I mean, this is the first place Atlanta Falcons, so you got to put some respect on their name there. They've looked bad the last 2 weeks, though. The defense is really regressing. They're not getting better. I believe they have Cordarrelle Patterson back this week, which should help them on the run game, although I'd have to check to make sure that he's available. He's their top running back and is super efficient. Mariota is going to try to lose the game every week, and the Falcons just have to minimize his mistakes. I like this. I like the Falcons in this spot for a couple reasons. One, it's a long way to travel, Los Angeles to Atlanta. Speaking of travel, you can go to tireget.com. I mean, you can't go anywhere without tires, so Chargers are going to need some of those as well going out to Atlanta. Maybe they're taking the bus. But I really like the Falcons in this spot. I just think this is a really, really good play. I think they probably win this game. I don't really respect what the Chargers are doing out there in Los Angeles. If the Falcons are going to win the division, which is what they're trying to do right now, they have to win games like this against mediocre teams. So they're going to find a way to win, and you get 3 points. Take the 3 and rest easy.
All right, first of all, Jack, I'm turning you into a radio host. That was the best Tire Get segue I've ever heard. I mean, that's the way to do it. Great job. I'm turning all my kids into radio people except the little guy, but you're going to get him the week I'm at the World Cup. You guys are by yourself, and you got to convince him to come on the air with you. Great Tire Get segue, Jack. Excellent job. I'm going to take Atlanta here. Let's get. I got to tell you. We've got Mad Max 17. Mad Max 17 on Get Alive says Chargers need receivers. That's their problem. They don't have any receivers. Their 2 receivers are out again. Same thing Kentucky Mag has said. But look, I love the Falcons here at home because the Chargers have nobody to throw the ball to. And this is another underperforming team in the NFL this season. I mean, I love the Chargers. The Bolts going into the season. I didn't think much of Atlanta, but they hang around games. They actually do have a decent home field advantage. So I'm going to go with the Falcons. Take the 3. I think this is going to be a very good game, a fun game to watch. So I like the Atlanta Clown Show +3. Nate?
I can't get off the Clown Show. I love the Falcons here, even though they looked horrible. Joe Burrow made their defense look awful. P.J. Walker made it look awful, too. So it doesn't seem to appear what the talent level is for quarterback. They can't really stop anybody with all these injuries in their secondary right now. But, the Chargers just haven't shown me much. The Chargers just can't ever seem to be healthy. I don't know what it is. They just seem snake-bit by injury. So I'll ride with the Falcons some more. NFC South leading Falcons.
You know what? You gotta have some respect for this team because they're hanging around games. That even some of the games that they got beat. Remember, they started the season. They started the season 5-0 against the spread. I think now they've lost. They've lost the last 2 games against the spread. But there's just something that doesn't inspire people right now as far as the Chargers are concerned. I mean, this is a team that I think going into the season they had a lot of hype. They got that great quarterback. They have a pretty good defense, but they've just underwhelmed. And I don't know what the way out for them is. So I'm kind of with you guys. I'm going to go with the Falcons. I guess all of us are all over the Falcons. Okay, my second best bet of the week. Packers at Lions. I'm just going to start here. The Packers are not going to lose this game. They are not, after all they've been through, And as bad as they've looked, Detroit is pathetic, right? I think I bet them. That's right. I bet them last week against Miami. I took 3.5. Once again, they got a they got a 17-point lead in the third quarter. It melts down. They have no depth. This team is pathetic. Are the Packers really going to go 3-6? I don't see it. I love the Packers in this game. Not that they're any good, but Detroit is horrible. They have no defense. Aaron Rodgers is going to light it up. Packers minus 3.5. My second best bet of the day. Nate.
Yeah, I agree with you. I like the Packers here. The Packers are just such a weird team, and they're so frustrating to watch. And it's frustrating to watch Aaron Rodgers talk ever. But I think this is a pretty good spot for Green Bay just because Detroit's defense is so bad. I mean, they're pretty much – I mean, they're worse in the league by almost any measurement, and they're horrible against the pass, which is an even worse recipe against Aaron Rodgers. So Green Bay defends the pass pretty well. It's really the only thing they do pretty decently on defense because they can't stop the run. So I like this matchup here. I think it's just a good matchup for the Packers and what it feels like every week we say it's a must-win game, but this is pretty much it. I mean, if they don't win here, they won't make the playoffs.
Jack?
Look, the Detroit Lions are horrible, and I keep picking them, and I'll tell you why. You know, most of my people in my family are, at least on one side, are from Michigan. I got a lot of Michigan alumni, got a lot of Lions fans up there, and one thing I know about Lions fans is they hate the Packers, and they get up for this game. This is in Detroit, and the Lions are horrible. They stink, but so do the Packers. I'm taking the 3.5 just because, look, this is one of my home states here, so I got to stick with the Lions. I've been sticking with them all year. All I do is lose. Let's do it again. Let's lose another game. Plus 3.5. I'll hammer it. I'd hammer it at +3. I'd hammer it at -4. You got to like the Lions when your family's from Flint. So,
well, one of us, Jack, are going to win this game. I love Pack. You love Lions, and Nate's going with me on the Pack. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Okay, Raiders in Jacksonville, another underperforming team. Raiders now at risk, not getting a wild card. They keep losing. They got blown out last week. Jacksonville also underwhelming. I mean, I'm just going to say right now, I have no pick in this game because this is one of these games, Raiders -2 in Jacksonville. Whoever I bet's going to lose, right? I just look at this line. Jacksonville, they got off to a good start. Now they lost, 5, 6 in a row. I mean, the Raiders last week they got blown out. I mean, that was an absolutely horrific, pathetic performance. They have no defense. Jacksonville's at home. They don't really have a home field advantage. They don't really win at home. I'm not touching this game, but I know Nate and Jack, you guys love the Jags. So Nate, I'll start with you. Jags at home +2.
I'm done with the Jags. We're moving on from the Jags. We're shutting the door on them. They just stink. They started off 2-1. They looked like a fun team. It seemed great. They've lost 5 straight now, and I'm tired of getting hurt. So I'm off the Jags. Take the Raiders here. I mean, it's just the Jaguars just seem allergic to winning, and it's annoying. They're better than a 2-6 record would indicate, but I'm done picking them. Take the Raiders here.
Jack?
I saw some stat earlier that when a team gets shut out, which I think the Raiders did last week, they're like 70% against the spread the next week. I'm off the Jags as well. I'm on the Raiders. I think Derek Carr's probably gone after this year. They're really struggling to get anything going on offense. I do take umbrage with the idea that Jacksonville doesn't have a home field advantage. The people in Jacksonville love the Jags, and they pack out that stadium even when it's raining. So, don't disrespect the Jags stadium.
Yeah, but they don't win at home. Like, I mean, I would bet the Jaguars here and take the 2 because the Raiders have no defense. I mean, the game last week was, they just mailed it in. And I don't like when teams quit like that, and I do agree with the stat. On paper, you'd say Raiders come back. But the Jaguars don't win at home. I mean, they it's like they have no home field advantage. So, I mean, I'm not disrespecting the fans.
They've got 2 wins, so they don't win anywhere. Doesn't matter where they go; they just lose.
True. That's true.
So it's not like they're 6-0 on the road and they can't win at home. They just, they just stink, and then they don't cover, which is infuriating. So I'm taking the Raiders here -2. I think the Jags are just done. They're cooked. just forget about it. Take the Raiders, and I hope they win by 2.5.
All right, I have not customary for me. I have no pick in this game because whoever I bet's going to lose. And sometimes I just see games that way. I'm like, doesn't matter who I bet, I'll lose. So I'm just not going to deal with it. Okay, I got to lead off here with Jax. With Jax, Seahawks, you've been all over them all season. Geno Smith, they go to Arizona, which has no defense either. Arizona -2 at home. Hawks keep winning. They keep playing good ball. We made fun of them, me and Nate, at the beginning of the season, and I mean they're right there to win the division. Seahawks +2 on the road in Phoenix. Jack, take it.
Listen, this is a Seahawks radio show. We bet the Seahawks. We picked the Seahawks. I don't even want the points. I took the money line, and then I took the points, and Geno Smith is, if you can get MVP odds for Geno Smith, look them up. If you can get NFC West, the Seahawks winning the NFC West, you can get those odds, book it. The Seahawks are one of the best teams in the NFL. Everybody's sleeping on them. The Cardinals stink. We bet the Seahawks. That's what we do on this show. We take them in any way we can. This team is incredible. They keep winning. They're fun to watch. They're going to Arizona. Scottsdale, a.k.a. Hotsdale. I don't even know if that's where Arizona plays. I don't think it is. But Seahawks +2, I'm taking the Seahawks.
Nate?
I agree. We're a Seahawks family. The amount of financial liability I have with the Seahawks going to the postseason is just almost crippling to think about. I bet them 3 different times to win the NFC West and to make the playoffs. I love the Seahawks. I think they win here. I mean, they smoked the Cardinals last time they played them when the Cardinals went to Seattle. I just don't see how, a change of venue sort of changes much in terms of how the game plays out. Geno Smith is still excellent. Seahawks are just the better team. They win here outright. Wrong team's favored.
Listen, I got a little inside scoop here, right? I heard that Kyler Murray just scored a new level on his Nintendo game. So I'm going to go with Kyler Murray. He doesn't study game film, but he's really good at these online gamings, which is what he basically does on the sideline. If you look at his tablet, he's in there playing games. He doesn't need no stinking game film, he says. I'm going to go counter you guys. I love the Cardinals at home. -2. I'm taking the Cardinals big. I think this is Kyler Murray's day. He loves playing those online games, and he says that, he don't need no stinking game film. Of the Cards at home here, and do not ignore theirs on Getter says Arizona wins this for Carrie Lake. I'm not sure what Carrie has to do with the governor's race, has to do with the Cardinals at home. But, look, eventually Murray's going to light somebody up, and I think it's going to be this weekend. Look, I love going against conventional wisdom. That's why I'm always ahead at the end of the season, because I bet against the public. Everybody's all over the Seahawks like you guys. Cards -2. That's my pick.
You're just doing that to upset us.
I'm doing that because, look, I don't like the Cardinals and I don't like Murray, but they're at home. And, Jack said, okay, they were in Seattle. Cardinals got blown out. It's tough to win 2 games home and away, especially when the first time you go on the road and you get smoked. I think there's a lot of incentive here for Arizona to show that they're a legit team. They've got to do it this week. I'm going to bet on that emotion, and I'm going to go with the Cards here, -2.
You're wrong.
Well, we'll
you're
see.
gonna. You're so wrong on this. You don't even like Arizona. You're just taking them to be different or difficult or annoying.
No, look, every game that I pick, I bet on.
All you do is tell us the culture matters. Culture matters. Look, millennials, you don't understand about culture, all right? There's 2 things I understand. It's tires and culture matters. And the Arizona Cardinals don't have culture, blah, blah, blah. And now you take them just because you don't want to take the Seahawks because you want to make us mad. Seahawks are going to win this game outright. The wrong team is favored. Let's move on to the Rams. You're wrong.
Well, you're right about culture and you're right about tires. I will give you that. And, of course, when we get to the Astros, they have probably the best culture in the major leagues, is why they keep
and probably
winning.
the best tires as well.
They got tires, and we need tires, right? who's ever going to sit on these tires also. All right, let's get to, oh my God, what is wrong with the Rams and the Bucs? Both these teams, talk about, this has got to be the most underperforming NFL season. I mean, who would think we'd be sitting here going to Tampa Bay? Tampa's -3 over the Rams. The Rams don't look like anywhere near a Super Bowl team. Tampa Bay's not even going to make the playoffs. Who would have saw this coming? Rams +3 in Tampa. The GOAT looks like he's done. I'm going to start here with Nate. What do you think, Nate?
This is probably the one game where I don't really want to pick a side, just because both offenses look terrible, right? Like Tom Brady just hasn't looked good. The Bucs have, well documented struggles. The Rams the same thing. I think if I'm gonna play this, and the way that I would recommend it is don't bet on either of these teams. Play the under. I mean, they just can't score. The defenses are better than the offenses. 42.5 is probably a pretty generous total. Play the under 42.5 if you have to do anything. But this game is just silly.
Well, Mad Max on Get Her Live, Mad Max 17 says White should be the running back for the Bucs. Fournette is burnt out. I'm not sure that he's burnt out, but he certainly hasn't looked good. But look, Nate, I'm going with the Rams here, and just one reason. Tampa Bay doesn't score. I mean, I'm going to get 3. I know that Donalds is, maybe going to sack Brady. The problem is with Brady right now, he can't get out of the pocket. He's really slow. He's too old. He shouldn't be playing. Eventually, this LA defense has got to do something. The Tampa Bay's got problems on their O-line. Yeah, their defense is good, but they don't score. So, I could see Tampa Bay winning this game 14-12 or something like that. Or, I'm sorry, 15-13, because all they do is kick field goals. I'm going to go with the Rams on the road, +3 to get out of the doldrums, play good defense, win that game. Jack, you're the cleanup hitter here.
Yeah, so I think it's hilarious that Fox basically bought out all the other games. Like, there's only one other 3 o'clock game or 4 o'clock game if you're on Eastern time. And they did that at the beginning of the season because they thought Rams, Bucs, this is going to be like the greatest game ever by this point in the season. And it's just hilarious that nobody's going to watch this game and everybody's going to watch the Seahawks instead. So I'm betting the under. Both these teams, they can't score. You might find some good sack props, like look up, the over-under on sacks, or if Aaron Donald, if the Rams maybe record two sacks, what the juice is on that. You might get something nice there. But otherwise, I mean, this game stinks. Just take the under and check your balance at the end.
But you're right, Jack. That's good analysis, right? I mean, Fox bought up. They bought out all these early games. I mean, this was going to be the marquee game. I mean, you look at the 4 o'clock games. There's only 2 of them, right? There's Seattle and Arizona, which that doesn't. Neither of them have a national following. And then you got the Rams at the Bucs, which is the game that everybody thought would be the big game, and both of these teams are fighting to get in the playoffs. But I like the Rams +3. So let's do a recap. I like the Rams +3. Jack, what was your pick again?
Under at 42.5.
And Nate?
Under at 42.5.
All right, I like the Rams. Now, we go to Sunday night. Here's my goal. Astros win tonight, so I don't have to be dealing with the 7th game of the World Series on Sunday night, which I would like not to do. I would much rather sit down with an ice-cold Bud Light, ice cold, right out of the ice box, sit down at 8:20 and watch my Titans go up against the Chiefs. I'm going to enjoy this game. I don't know who's going to be the quarterback. I'm going to take the 12.5. They're 12.5-point underdog. It's a lot of wood. Here's why I'm going to take it, because there's no pressure in this game. Not like the 5 games in a row that we had to win when we were 0-2 and all that stuff going on. There's no pressure. We go into Kansas City, 12.5-point underdog. Maybe it's Tannehill. I don't think Tannehill's starting because they got him questionable, but Vrabel sometimes he's like Belichick. They say he's not going to play, and then he pops up and, 5 seconds before the game, he's out there. So I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm going to take the 12.5. And so even if they get beat, so they're 5-3, they're still in the command of the division. They don't have the pressure on them they had in these other games. And Kansas City, sometimes they're at home. Titans got a good defense. I could see us getting beat here by 10 but the other thing is, if Malik Willis is the quarterback. He needs to run the ball. I mean, that's what they need to do. Spread the guy out, let him scramble, let him run. He had 2 or 3 opportunities last week where they wouldn't let him run the ball. He throws an interception. Run the football, see what happens. Eat up the clock. Maybe you hang around. Titans plus 12.5. Jack?
Yeah, I like the Titans here too. I do think it's nerve-wracking not knowing who the quarterback is, which is why the line is so large. Malik Willis is just not a good option. But I do think that Vrabel's playing mind games, although I don't think the Chiefs are shaking in their boots because Tannehill's going to start. But here's what I did. I didn't even take the points. I went down to the first jackpot and I said, give me the money line. The juice was plus 525 or something crazy. It's gone down since then. So I'm just hoping the Titans. They always give the Chiefs trouble. Maybe they win the game. And yeah, so we'll see.
All right, Nate.
This is crazy. This is the first time in the history of the show we've all been on the Titans. I like the Titans too, I guess. I mean, just because Derrick Henry looks good again. I mean, he was great last week. The defense was stellar last week. And I mean, the Chiefs are great, sure, but I don't know if they're that much better. 12.5 sort of a funky line. Obviously, if Malik Willis plays, it's not, awesome for the Titans' chances, but I'll roll the dice with the Titans here, too. I think, they just look better than I thought they would. So, Titans.
Well, this is a respect game for us. If you're a Titans fan, this is how you get respect. Nobody respects us. Culture, run the football, toughness, hang around games, find a way to win. Eat up the clock. It's not pretty. It's ugly. It's not the way the NFL is played today, but they keep winning. They won 5 in a row. We're going to see what happens here. They have no This is why I love them. They have no pressure in this game. They're in command of the division. They're going on the road. Maybe their quarterback doesn't play. I love the Titans here, plus 12.5, so I'm kind of fired up. All right, guys, we got a minute, then we got to go to the Astros. Monday night, Ravens-Saints. I'll start off. Saints are plus 2.5 at home. Ravens minus 2.5 on the road. I'm going to go with the Ravens here. I think they're a better team. I know the Saints have showed promise, but they've not really beaten anybody. I like the Ravens minus the 2.5. Jack?
Ravens minus 2.5.
Nate?
Ravens minus 2.5.
We're all over the Ravens. Okay. We all like Ravens minus 2.5 at New Orleans. Let's go to the Astros tonight. Jack's right. We spent 45 minutes on the phone yesterday. I think he went to the doctor, went to the dentist, and I was still talking, so he got all his stuff done. Look, this is the game we have to win. We've got the best pitcher in the major leagues going at home. He completely baffled Philadelphia a week ago. Mom and I were there. We loved watching him. It was so much fun. That place, you got to be in that stadium. I mean, everybody talks about the Phillies fans. I mean, that place on, Saturday night? I mean, that place was absolutely rocking. You couldn't hear yourself think at Minute Maid. But this is a game they got to win. Nobody wants to go to the 7th game. Everybody remembers Washington. Everybody remembers Atlanta. We don't want to go to a 7th game. So I think the Astros win tonight. Wrap it up, Jack.
I saw some stat that they were 0-5 in Game 6s. That's the Astros. So I'm hoping they can turn that around. And World Series Game 6s are 0-4 or something. So I'm hoping they can turn that around and get the win. You're right. This is a game you got to win. Let's just go with the Stros. But you just never know. World Series baseball, Game 6 and 7, you just never know.